In 3, 2, 1, and we're live.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
How about no, you crazy Dutch bastard? What we've got here is failure to communicate.
60% of the time, it works every time.
That doesn't make sense.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
That's cute. I remember when I had my first beer.
Why so serious?
I am serious. And don't call me sir.
What's up, everybody? It's the DTD podcast. We have a special episode for you. Today, we're bringing on not only the directors, but also the leading actor of a new horror movie that will change your mind about Christmas dinner. So today with us from the movie hosts, we have Richard Oakes, Adam Leader, and Neal Ward. And we're going to talk to them about this little gem out of England that you might not have heard about, but you definitely need to check into. So let's get right into it, guys. How is everybody?
Good, man. How are you?
We are excellent. I'm so glad you guys dropped by so we could talk about this because this movie is very, very good. Like I said, it will change your thoughts on Christmas dinner. It will change your thoughts on inviting family over, quote unquote, for the holidays. So let's get right into it. Let's talk about your careers for a minute. Let's start with you, Richard. Let's just talk about how you got to this level.
Depends what level that is. If you mean just above bin level, then I used to be a bin man, so I kind of have a lot of experience of carrying around rubbish and stuff like that. Then I decided I'd had enough of that. Always wanted to do film since I was a young age, but it used to have quite a high bar of entry as far as cost of equipment and things. But then when the digital cameras came out and the sensors started getting a lot more cinematic, the prices dropped dramatically into an area most people can afford if they want to. So I picked up a camera, I started doing a couple of weddings, hated doing that, but slipped into doing music videos. And by I think my second or third music video, I was working for Universal and was doing videos for them, plus EMI and Sony and stuff like that. I kind of made a name for myself as a music video director, but the plan was always to shoot films because that's been my passion since I was a kid, especially kind of the darker side of films, horror and thriller. Then I started DOPing on a few short films and doing slightly less music videos, and then ended up DOPing feature films, and then decided it was time to do my directorial debut with Adam. That was a good segue for you.
Yeah. Cool. So Adam?
Yeah, I guess like I spent the last 10 years or so in the music industry. I always wanted to do music and film, but I chose to do music first. And I guess halfway into it, so about 5 years ago, I met Rich by chance as he was hired to shoot one of our music videos, and two of us hit it off and have been best friends ever since. And yeah, we ended up working together, and I ended up coming to work with him, and we used to go out and shoot music videos for all sorts of bands that in the industry, and we both had this mutual love for for filmmaking and wanting to make our own films. And yeah, I guess fast forward a little while, and here we are today, having done our debut feature. Other than that, I guess the boring stuff is that I've probably had every single job anyone can have under the sun. But, you know, that's how it goes.
I think that's how it goes for a lot of people in the entertainment industry, just until, because you got to get that one person to see it. If you get that one person that kind of sets you off, that's it. So Neal, let's get into yours a little bit. Background on acting and how you got into actually movies.
Yeah, excuse me. I pretty much started off at quite a youngish age. It wasn't from like a child's age. It was probably about 15, 16. taking our exams. And I had notoriously sort of sacked off the woodwork that I wanted to take, because I always like making things and bird boxes and jewelry boxes and stuff like that. But then I found out the exams were so long that you had to take, and my attention span is terrible. So I sacked that off, and I was told that I could swear and have a go at the teacher and pretend to be angry and funny and stuff in the drama classes. So I sort of took that instead, and pretty much didn't stop from there on. I carried on, did sort of the college end of it, and then I moved to London and did screen acting at the International School of Screen Acting down there, because drama school wasn't for me. They were too pompous and up their own bums for my liking. So I literally trained there for a year, and I've done various sort of shorts and music videos and sort of very low budget feature films. And then, sort of fast forward about 15 years later, and I was managed to get a role in Two Graves, which was on Netflix around the world, on Worldwide, playing a lead role in that with a couple of very good British sort of iconic actors and actresses. Sort of landed a role on that, and then from that sort of floated around the indie scene, doing a couple of other feature films, and then worked on the channel with Adam and Rich. They run their own YouTube channel about cinematography and stuff. And so I sort of slid over that way, and then they asked me to be in this terrific entity of a film. So that's me, basically. Yeah.
So let me ask you guys, because this is an independent film, but I've talked to quite a few people that make movies this year, and it almost, to me, and we'll see if you agree, it almost seems to me as the studios are pretty dead right now. You're losing lots of movie theaters worldwide. I think the studios aren't pumping out, and anything big they're pushing back to next year, or they're canceling altogether, or they're doing whatever. And I think at this moment, this is where independent films can really make people set up and kind of pay attention to them, because I think that they're overlooked and have been overlooked for so long, but they are the only thing original left out there. You see a lot of recreations in Hollywood. You see a lot of remakes and redos and all that kind of stuff. And the independent cinema is where you see all of those new ideas come forward. Do you guys agree with that, or do you take kind of a different approach to it?
Totally agree with that.
Yeah, we agree. Yeah.
Just to chip in before the boys, I think when you're independent, you don't have anyone telling you what you can and can't do in a film. Right. There's always, we're the money guys. You can't do that in your film, and we need to follow this, we need to follow that. It's with independent film, if someone wants to back you financially, you have free reign to do whatever you want, which the guys essentially did. You know what I mean?
We did have a few people kind of trying to chuck their oar in and say, no, if you want it to sell, or if you want it to do this or do that, you need to do this way, and you need to tick this box, and it needs to have nudity, and needs to have this to sell to this, and all this stuff. And we were like, no, we don't. We'll do whatever the hell we want. This is our film, and we're going to do it exactly the way we want to do it. And we've been like that since the get-go with everything. And lots of people saying, this isn't the way you do things. This isn't the way it's done. And we've gone, so this is the way we're doing it. And yeah, you agree?
I do. A lot of the time as well, it's and not that everyone was this what's the word, stereotype, so to speak, but at least half of those people, if not more, that were telling us, no, you have to do it this way, were people that hadn't even done anything yet themselves. They're people that hadn't made their own films, or for whatever reason, and telling us how to make our own film or how to tell our own story. And yeah, we're just like, nah, we're gonna do our thing. You'll see. And then just sitting there patiently and being confident that this will become what we want it to become and what we set it out to become, and it did. And I think it's just because we kept the faith. Like we believed in it since day one, and we stuck to our guns. Like Rich said, we stuck to our guns, and we just kept pushing and pushing and pushing and creating opportunities and making those conversations happen with people and getting it in front of the right eyes. And here we are.
Well, and speaking in independent terms, when you're talking about people saying, well, you have to do this and you have to put nudity, to me, all that sounds like is horror tropes. Like, this has worked in the past, so it'll work in the future. But we're finding out quickly that those things don't really work anymore. People aren't into the movies for that. People really want an escape these days. And if we stick to those old tropes, we stick to those old ideas, people don't get that form of escape that they want or that they need. And speaking about this film, when I was talking to Richard during the sound check last night, I told him, this movie to me doesn't seem like a horror movie. This seems like a psychological thriller to me.
I love that.
Because I think horror movie compartmentalizes it too much and says it has to do these things. But if we open it up and say psychological thriller, it can lead us to so many different things. And it does, because as we talked last night, it handles so many different complex issues. You know, the family unit, secrets in the family unit, unspeakable violence. It covers all those things. So when you go into this movie, and first we'll talk to the directors and then over to you, Neal, to ask kind of your idea behind it. But when you approach this movie and you get this idea, because it's a very Invasion of the Body Snatchers to me, and you approach this movie, what are you thinking about going into it? How are you trying to change and put your signature on this film?
Well, for me personally, I think I can't speak for Rich. Tell me if you agree, though, Rich. It's for me personally, it's more like we weren't going into it with the like, right, we have to change the way film is, we have to change the game here. Like, for us, it was like, no, let's write a story that is important to us, that has not just a surface level thing that you see, like, that has several layers and a lot of subtext. And let's write a story that means a lot to us, that we can take from personal experiences and personal insecurities and manifest that onto a script and tell that story. Let's just do whatever we want to do and tell the story we want to tell. And I guess, ironically, if that's the right word, I think doing that and not trying to follow some sort of trend or algorithm does sort of change the game. You know, it does change it if you get it in front of enough people, of course. And yeah, that's the hard part of trying to get known and whatnot. But it's kind of doing it. You know, people seem to start talking about it, which is crazy, actually. Like, for us to see every day, like, all these strangers just because it's only out in the US and Canada at the moment, from those countries saying, hey man, we watched your movie and it's amazing, and we're getting all these really good critic reviews and stuff. And it seems to be doing what we wanted it to do, but what we, I guess, didn't consciously try to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking on that, you guys are getting crazy reviews from all over, where I read that the new director of the Saw series really loves you guys' movie. I mean, that's a huge thing, because when Saw came out, people were like, oh, this is new. People haven't done this in horror. And it kind of put the, that genre on its ear with Saw. And it continues forward today. And it's gotten so big that, there's haunted houses made of it at Universal and different things. Like, there could be a Host haunted house. You never know.
I love that.
I mean, they're going to listen. The whole idea is we don't want to give too much away, but let's just say world domination. I don't see a better way than to do Halloween Horror Nights with a Host haunted house.
That would be crazy.
Reach for the stars. Why not?
Yeah. There you go.
So that thing, like what Adam was saying, is it's not like, we're really kind of, I guess the word we call it is anti the algorithm, because the algorithm can't create. It can only look at what's there and go, right, it needs that. And we've been told, like, initially when we were pitching stuff, oh, this doesn't match the algorithm of our VOD platform or whatever. And it's like, well, this is kind of crazy. You're never going to come up with anything new if your algorithm can only look at what's out there and how people respond to that, and then say, we need more of that. It can't say, right, we need to create something original in this area. It can only regurgitate. It can only regurgitate with algorithms. And I think that's we weren't trying to do anything new. We just wanted to try and make something that we both loved. And I think it was less trying to not do what's out there as far as tropes, but there's a lot of influence in there, obviously, with films that we love. But it was just doing what we love without having to tick boxes, if you know what I mean, that type of thing. So we didn't worry about ticking those boxes and just kind of did what we did and all the way. And we kind of just had a mindset, which sounds a bit arrogant, but we're going to do what we do. It will go where it goes, and wherever it goes. And yeah, we just kind of stuck to that. We're not out there chasing money or anything like that. We're out there chasing a dream to be able to create, because that's what we love to do.
So Neal, you approaching this not as a director but as an actor, is there a certain mind state that you get into? Because you have to be a couple different things in this film. Your character changes very abruptly, but you have to be a couple different things. So what's the mind state that you have going into a movie like this?
I mean, excuse me. The thing with this role was obviously on paper, it's two totally different roles.
Absolutely.
And the only person I've seen sort of recently do that is Tom Hardy in Legend. And it was, I suppose for me, it was a very similar approach. You, instead of playing two very different characters that are different from me, I keep one that's very similar to me and ramp up a character for the second one. So I suppose pre-possession Jack is closer to myself. The
I definitely hope so.
Yeah, no, I'm a lovely guy, really, but yeah, just don't like the other one. So yeah, the first part of the film is essentially a very sort of shyer, timider, cuter version of me, and then the second part is ramped up with all the sort of rhythms of speech and I play a lot of very sort of angry characters or unhinged characters anyway in my career, so that's easier to expand on for me. But the first part of the film is very much just sort of amplifying the sort of cute, sort of soppy nature. And I mean, I do little things for my girlfriend at the moment, like really cute things and stuff for her birthday. I take a lot of time in doing really nice, unique gifts for them or things that they would really like. And I take a lot of time into that. So it's quite easy to draw upon those sort of moments that I've already previously experienced and keeping them true to myself and pushing them out there to the audience as a genuine thing, like the gifts you see at the start and the way he is with her is because that's what I'm like when I'm in a serious sort of moment myself. I think Johnny Depp said with every part you play, there's always an element of yourself in it. Otherwise, it's not acting; it's just lying. Which is what I've always sort of took with me from an early age. So yeah, to play Jack in the second part, it's just mindless violence, and then there's very methodical, thought out things that are being said. But to me, it's I like to make things look interesting, and the intensity to be there, and the sort of unhingedness of what is this guy going to do next? Because a few things I do in the film wasn't scripted by Adam, but props to Adam for sort of letting me sort of run away with it in certain parts. But yeah, that's how I approach it. Tom Hardy did that kept one of the Cray brothers to himself, and then the other one's like, yeah, like, I really like sort of heightened version of him, yeah. And I thought I'll do something similar with me because he's a big influence on me at this moment anyway. So.
And I'm guessing that probably the face lick that wasn't in the script. That was
that's exactly what we're talking about. Yeah, the face lick.
Okay, good.
It just felt right. I mean, Nadia is such a.
It's super disturbing.
Yeah. Thank you, man. That's what I went for.
Yeah, it's definitely unexpected at that point. You know, I think people there, and we won't get into where it's at, but I think people at that point are expecting maybe a jump scare or something right there. And you took it in an entirely different direction.
I mean, I think at that point, when you're doing such a scene like that, we were so into it. And I've worked with Nadia, well, only like a couple of times on things with the boys. And she's just so great to work with. And the directors, Rich and Adam and me, just always sort of throw things at her that she just sort of laps up and embodies and uses. And her performance is just incredible, and it really gives me something to work with when I'm working with her. and it just felt right to lick her face. It just like, it was kind of like
it feels right.
I'm going to tell you, Neal, a couple of these answers are disturbing me a little right now. So
you're trying to work out which part of me is closer to myself. Is it the Jack part,
because I'm thinking we might be going in the opposite direction of what you said. So
yeah, but no, she just that blood was tasty.
Well, and that's what I was just about to ask you. So how did that taste? Because there was a lot of it.
Tasted of fear, fear and syrup. Syrup fear.
So we had talked, and I said that I took a real Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I don't know if that's rude to say. I think it's one of my favorite movies of all time, and especially not the 70s version, the original version, because the original version is more of a psychological thriller to me too, because you see a lot of character development in those. Other than Invasion of the Body Snatchers, if that even is one, what were some of the other, I don't want to say tropes, but other ideas from movies that you liked and you kind of paid homage to in this film?
I guess a lot. We're paying homage to a lot of our favorite films growing up. In terms of vibe, though, I think we draw a lot of inspiration from films like The Shining, Hereditary as well. More recent ones. It's more of the vibe going for in that sense. It's tough because like I said, it pays homage to so many different films that we love, but it doesn't rip them off. We're not copying. It's just it's very hard for me to explain. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but
I think the word is homage. I don't think it's copying at all, because they're very subtle in how they're displayed in the movie. I think it's very subtle, but you can definitely go, I get that vibe off this right here, and that is a credit to you guys, not only as a director, but you as the actors being able to carry that vision forward.
Yeah, there's definitely homage that we wanted in there, but it's taking in a different way. Like just having the TV is an homage to a few films, like Poltergeist and Ring and things like that, which we're big fans of. Stuff like we said. Then it was like the camera work and the look of certain things, like the look in Lauren's bedroom. We wanted to get a real Ari Aster kind of feel, like Hereditary in there. The violence is quite reminiscent of Midsommar and things like that. There's a lot of like the corridor we wanted to kind of have that Shining feel with the corridor with the two kids. Do you know what I mean? Like a lot of it in the wallpaper and things. Not that it's the same, but like the Shining has its iconic carpet, and everyone's saying like that the wallpaper is quite iconic to this film. Just little things like that, though, where we've got influence from, but not just going, I'm going to do that. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Neal, same to you. If that's a possibility of an actor maybe bringing something over.
I mean, for me, it's more of what the boys bring to film and their vision for me. I was a big fan of Rich's work anyway beforehand, and and also the same with Adam for his musical talents and his band. So a lot of what I did was sort of complementing what they were wanting to do as well. So they're talking of Hereditary and Midsommar and things like that. I massively enjoy those films as well, and I've always trusted these guys to do something different with it, but also, like you say, pay homage to it. It is a case of I trust what I do in front of them and how they want to direct me, which is what they do very well. So yeah, if anything, is those films, their visions shared by what I kind of expected this film to sort of where it was going to sit in the sort of film world, and that's exactly where they wanted to sort of sit. And I think they're getting the recognition for it now. The other thing is when you've got such an algorithm like they were speaking of earlier, of people are being spoon-fed through sort of certain channels, the same sort of algorithms and same horrors, that when these guys are sat there going, we want to do something different, or at least go no, or we're going to do it and keep it our way. That's a big thing for me when people want to go against the grain, because I did it a lot throughout my early life, going against the grain and making sure something sticks out to be different for the sake of being different. But if there's no need for just sticking out for the sake of being different if you're not doing something well. And this is what I think the guys do really well. In just the subtleties, and Rich's cinematography is the directing, but Adam sort of worked hard with the actors and was their sort of contact to go to whilst Rich was setting everything up to look as good as it did. I just trusted everything that they did and trusted them to make something completely different. With a, like you say, the homage is there, which is great.
And speaking of the kind of look and feel, one, this movie is very visceral. If there was a word to describe it, it would be visceral, in my opinion. But I have what sticks out to me is you guys went very graphic, very bloody in this film. Is there a reason why you chose to go in that direction instead of, let me use a very old film like Halloween 78. You see very rarely any blood. Most of the kills are left to your imagination, things like that. Is there a reason that you go 180 degrees in the other direction? Does it display the material better? What is the reasoning behind doing that?
I think we wanted that stark contrast because we were very adamant from the beginning to character develop and to let the beginning and the characters breathe, which was another thing we were told not to do, but we wanted to do that. We've had good feedback about that actually recently, like since the film's kind of come out, and then to kind of swing the audience for 6, do you know what I mean, of their expectation of what this is. So we wanted to shock the audience, but it's also again that inspiration. I think the modern, I listened to a podcast earlier and it was talking about modern horror and how it's almost dividing into two almost separate genres of horror, where you've got, like you said, your slasher movies and those kind of things. And then, and neither of them are better than the other, but they're kind of dividing, and you seem to get fan base from the slasher ones disliking the other side. And the other side, I think, is more layers of depth, metaphor, things like that, but also mixed in with quite extreme violence. Do you know what I mean? And that's, like I was saying, like Midsummer, Hereditary, a lot of A24's kind of stuff we're big fans of. And they kind of do that real shock factor, but mixed with real layers of depth and allegory and things like that, which we're really into, kind of exploring deeper. But there seems to be this divide in the horror community, I think, between those. And lots of people I've seen, I could be wrong, but I've seen on Facebook and Twitter and stuff, they're kind of hating on each other in a way, which is kind of cool because it kind of creates little communities of things. But I think we definitely feel we're more kind of interested in that new wave, I guess, of horror, if you know what I mean. Did
you want to add something in, Adam?
Yeah, I guess just to reiterate what Rich said, I think as well, because we're so focused on character development and letting it breathe for a while, so you as the audience can get to know the characters as much as we did when we wrote the film, and get to know and love them and feel something for them, so that when something does happen to them, whether it's good or bad, you really feel for it. Whereas if you watch a film, a slasher film or whatever, where in the first 5 minutes, someone that you don't care about gets their throat slit or whatever, as entertaining as that is to watch, sounding like a psychopath here, but as entertaining as that is to watch, you know, in the horror genre, it's like it's just seconds long entertainment and then it's done. Whereas if you've got this long build up and you really care about these characters, and without obviously spoiling anything hosts wise, it's when something happens to them and when something so extreme happens to them, because you're invested in that character already, the extremity of what's happening to them, I guess the higher it is, the more it's going to affect you and give you that sick feeling in your stomach, which is what we felt when we were writing it, man. Like the more extreme the violence was, the more we were like, shit, this is, oh, sorry, we were like, oh man, like this is
no, you can say shit. We've
said
it a bunch of times before.
Well, yeah, then we would literally just look, the worse the violence got, the more extreme it got, the more we as the writers were like, shit, this is awful. And the only reason we feel that way is because we've gotten to know the characters, and they have personalities and traits, and they're real people. You know, they're not just props in a film.
I think that's it. Like we've been told by a lot of people, and lots of people have questioned us on why did you go so extreme? And to tell you the truth, I don't think it is extreme. I think people feel it's extreme because they know the characters and because they've gone to that depth of getting to know them. If you saw that in the first 5 seconds on the street, I've seen, you know, a film like Terrifier, say, for example, that happens instantly and throughout. And I haven't heard that kind of same reaction because, in my opinion, you don't get to know any characters in Terrifier. It's just violence and you kind of popcorn. And do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
That's an absolutely bananas film that you just compared yours to. I mean, it's it's very. I would almost say Terrifier though is more gore porn. I think, but here's the problem. Here's the problem with films like that though, is. And in contrast to your film, those films rely on that. They rely on that gore. They rely on that shock factor to eke the movie along. Because, I mean, if we really look at Terrifier, even though they're making a second one, does it really have a storyline?
No.
That's the issue. That's the thing, man. Like, and you can't. It's something. It's not relatable. Because it is just. I mean, you know, these things do happen, you know, and it sucks,
of course.
When there's an underlying theme of something, whether that be lying or manipulation or whatever it may be, the more you're going to feel and be able to relate and to personal things that you've experienced, which the violence you see on screen elevates, if that makes sense.
Well, and in saying that, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Let's talk about the dinner table. So we're talking about violence for the sake of violence, gore for the sake of gore. I think just having that scene in the film puts enough gore out for the entire film because it's so over the top. Yeah, exactly. It's so over the top that where do you go from there?
That's
everything else in the film seems sort of tame compared to it. Yeah, I mean, is that a fair assumption that it feels?
I agree. Potentially, the last kill of the film is pretty meaty as well, but I think by that point, it's not you're kind of over the majority of the shock factor. I don't think the last kill is a shock factor thing, but it's pretty visceral.
I think you come to is the word expect it by the end.
Yeah, I reckon that's a fair assumption.
So, who came up with the idea for the dinner table?
I can't even remember.
I can't remember now. I think it
Listen, when this movie in 50 years is done by film school students and stuff, that's going to be a question. So you guys need to nail this answer down because
we are. Yeah, Rich just said we are. Where is it?
It's in the middle. Sorry, the TV's turning itself off. We're basically one mind. Like anytime I have an idea, Adam's like, I just was about to say that. Anytime he has an idea, I'm like, man, that's exactly what I was thinking. So, like, it's actually really tough looking back at our work to actually pinpoint who came up with what as far as the ideas for the scenes and the set pieces and stuff like that. There's a couple of things I remember specifically coming up myself, and there's a couple of things I remember Adam coming up with himself, but it's not anything major. Do you know what I mean? They're smaller things, and we know that Neal contributed one part that makes the that scene effective. But as far as the actual who came up with that idea, I don't know. I think we had inspiration from other films of we want something like that that's highly effective and highly visceral.
We took inspiration for that particular scene. We wanted to do something that Tarantino would do. So a big inspiration to us was well, for me at least, I think for you as well, Rich, was the opening scene to Inglourious Bastards, where it reveals the well, I don't want to say threat, because they're not, well, they're a threat to the Nazis, right? But you see the Jewish people underneath the cellar right at the beginning, and then you come back up, and the audience know the whole time, and you know that some horrible shit's about to go down, right? And we've always wanted to do something like that. We always want to write like that, you know, in that sense, revealing the threat at the beginning. The audience are on the edge of their seats the whole time, knowing that something really horrible is going to go down.
Inspired by Hitchcock as well, which is where he got that vibe from, which is like few people have picked up on is the bomb theory type of thing, where you can, and the opposite is the jump scare. And we're kind of, again, those tropes. We wanted to do our thing. We're not a big fan of jump scares. We've said it on our filmmaking channel for years before we even started thinking about making this film, is that we're not a fan of jump scares. I mean, there are a couple, I think, and it's good to use them when they work to progress the story or to do that. But when you've got, like, nowadays, it's ridiculous. You get at the beginning and you get the mate knocking on the door, and it's like, burn! It's like, oh, it's my mate, or burn, it's a cat, or burn, flower pot just fell over, and it's like, I'm just so sick of that. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, and I think a lot of people are, pretty much everyone we talk to, you know, the word jump scare is kind of a four-letter word type of thing. It's people are getting sick of it. It's and so we wanted to avoid that. And the opposite of the jump scare is the bomb theory by Hitchcock, which is you show the bomb under the table and then you carry on with the conversation of the people sat at the table, rather than just two people sat at the table and then bam, a bomb goes off. Like it's the opposite of like kind of shock and jump, rather than elongating dread. And I think we're much more into just dread and tension as filmmakers. I think that's the emotion I love feeling when I'm watching films, rather than jumping, because it's a cheap kind of, it's like someone prodding you in the back and going, yeah, I got you. And it's like, well, that's just annoying.
And then it's over in seconds,
right,
and you forget about it.
Right. Neal, you want to add anything to that?
I mean, for the dinner scene that you're talking about, particularly for me, I'm a huge fan of Gaspar Noé. So with a film such as Irreversible, there's the two major sort of notorious scenes in that you never really cut away from. The fire extinguisher scene and the obviously the underpass scene. When you have extreme violence and things like that, the underpass scene is when the director shows you what happens from start to finish. Like other scenes with rape in it and stuff like that, you see a snippet of it and you see sort of just a tiny bit of it going, oh, that's bad, really bad. And I feel for them. But the way that Gaspar Noé did it, which just shows you what happens from start to finish. So you have to relive what someone having that done to them would have to live through. It's sort of, you're not cutting away and letting people make up their own minds. You're showing it from start to finish. I don't know if this was the guys, no inspiration at all, because I don't think either of them have seen it, but for me.
We definitely spoke about it.
I love Irreversible.
Yeah.
We did want that effect.
And especially in Irreversible, where he's smashing his head to pieces with a fire extinguisher, and it hardly cuts away. I know they cut away cleverly with CGI, and it's not a person; it's the CGI is overlaid on it. But you follow that from start to finish, from the first hit to the mush. And then with the underpass scene with the 8-minute long rape, it's the start to the finish. You see it, and people are always questioning, is it necessary to? And it's like, well, no. If you can make your own mind up, but it's when you physically show it without cutting away from it and focusing on it, it's a lot more powerful to just show this is how it happens and this is what people actually experience. That's when I read the script, when Adam had sent it over to me, I felt that in our scene at the dinner table, which is it's a lot more powerful to me to see it, and so you're forced to sort of watch it rather than go, oh, it cuts away from someone, do you know what I mean, hitting them once and that's it. Do you know what I mean? For me,
right? Yeah.
Totally different film to Irreversible. For anyone listening, it's
yeah. I don't think I'll be in for that one because here's the thing with, you know, and there's a lot of movies out there where people say, I don't mind being uncomfortable in a movie. What I like about your movies, though, it makes you uncomfortable, pulls it away a little bit. Makes you uncomfortable, pulls it away a little bit. I don't like sitting through movies like you're talking about jump scares where it's annoying. I don't want to be uncomfortable the entire movie because you can't really focus on the movie if you're uncomfortable the whole time. At least that's the way I believe, that if you're worried about another feeling, maybe another feeling you're supposed to pick up in the movie won't necessarily show up. So in talking about the dinner table and the family unit as a whole, who do you think, because this kind of stood out to me, who do you think's relationship is closer, Dad and Jack or Dad and Lauren?
Oh, I would probably have to say
I
would probably say.
Have you
Dad.
guys never been asked this question before?
No. It's a really good question.
Yeah.
I think there's an unspoken closeness between Dad and Jack, because when writing it, I wanted to get across that Jack felt some sort of like closeness / awkwardness towards Michael. And Michael obviously feels a huge amount of love for Jack, not to give away anything. But also he's unable to say anything because he's hiding something. So there is this unspoken feeling that's never spoken about. Whereas Dad and Lauren, they're close, but they're not at the same time. It's just used to family banter kind of thing. You're kind of used to them, and they're your parents, and you love them because they're your parents, but you're not necessarily friends. You know.
So here's okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry. No. Go ahead.
For me, for thinking about this and playing the scenes sort of with Michael, thinking of his normal name, Frank Jakeman. I saw the character of Jack with him is they live in the same street. Michael does his own things, Jack does his work, and they sort of are friendly. They're down the pub and they sort of have sort of like a sort of good mate sort of thing. They're good neighbor relationship. And obviously, with what Michael feels for Jack, it's a similar feeling. It's a friendly feeling towards him. But yeah, I definitely think it's a stronger relationship between him and Jack than it is him and Lauren, for sure. Lauren seems to hide things from her parents. Doesn't feel comfortable telling their parents about certain things that she speaks about on the phone with people in the film. And yeah, it just seems like she's not close enough to tell them everything. Do you know what I mean?
Here is my interpretation of it. And I want you guys to tell me if it feels off. The reason I feel Dad and Jack are closer. Dad and Jack don't have to have a relationship, but they do. Dad and Lauren have to have a relationship. And he does everything he can to be part of Jack's life, up to and including bringing them over for dinner, making sure that he meets him at the train, all those kind of things. He really puts forth an effort that you don't see with either of the other siblings. I guess not either, but any of the other siblings, he doesn't put that effort forward. So I thought that relationship was really kind of a powerful relationship between Dad and Jack, just because it didn't have to be there. Now, granted, there's a huge secret that we've all said that goes into it, but it felt very real too, that they really did care about each other.
Yeah, totally. And the reason it was played down with Lauren and Eric, especially Eric, was the main focus to play down almost to abandonment level. Do you know what I mean? Which has created his character, which is meant to be quite whiny and annoying in a way, because he just wants attention, because he's obviously not getting it. And I think Michael is making a lot more effort through guilt, but in the way he's doing that, he's neglecting his kids. Do you know what I mean? I think that's definitely the way I envision it. I feel like when you put a film out, it belongs to everyone, and this is my interpretation of it. And it's funny because sometimes me and Adam have different interpretations of the film. Do you know what I mean? And that's interesting.
That's probably a good thing, you know. And in speaking of the relationships of the family, I felt at least for quite a while in the film that the sister and the younger brother, that was her son. That's what I thought for I just got that feeling like that was her son. And I mean, there's nothing that alludes to that in the movie, but that's what it felt more like was, you know, she was kind of living with the parents, kind of parasiting off the parents. That's what I got from her character was everyone was tired of taking care of her and being around her. And that's the way I get. Was that the way she was written, or am I?
No, actually, that's a really interesting theory, to be honest. That's a really cool, a really interesting view on it, because it wasn't written with that intent, but I can completely see how that assumption or opinion can be made, for sure. And it's very believable. Your opinion on that is very believable, for sure.
And mostly I get that from the attic. When they start talking and he said, you know, I've done everything for you, no matter what, good or bad. And it comes to your choice and you choose, you know, wrong. And that's where I really got that, where like everyone in the whole family was like, all right, we're kind of tired of your shit.
I think she's meant to have that character, like the fact that she doesn't want responsibility is her character. She's trying to avoid responsibility, but in the end, she ends up having to take responsibility in a way. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
she doesn't want kids. She doesn't want
marriage.
Get married.
Yeah.
She's trying to avoid all that stuff. She's not very interested in looking after her little brother when she's got time with him. And what we wanted was her arc to kind of have that change. Do you know what I mean? Where she realizes I can't just dote on other people to do whatever I want, and I've got to take responsibility for something. And yeah, that's kind of was her arc.
Well, and I think it comes through even her relationship on the phone where she says, I like things the way they are, because it seems like they're pushing for a more important role maybe, or more responsibility. And it's, you know, let's just keep it status quo. And in talking about her character and going forward with her character, the turmoil between her and Eric is palpable in the movie. Like they're at least to me. Do you think that Eric's angry about the past? Do you think he's angry about what's going on right now? How is that character written to have that animosity towards that sister?
I think Eric is I think Eric feels misunderstood, and I feel like he has constantly been there for Lauren, but Lauren has always been quite dismissive. This is just my opinion here. I think Lauren's always been quite dismissive, and because Eric has never got the attention that he wanted from his dad, he's, might be the wrong word here, but projecting that onto or transferring that onto trying to get it from a sibling, right? The next person closer to you. And so he's constantly there. And he says it in the attic, I was always there for you, even when you were in the wrong. I was always there. It's like no matter what she does, he's trying to latch onto it so that he'll do anything just for that acceptance, you know? And it took a lot of inspiration from particularly their relationship well, a lot of relationships I've had in terms of within my family, but mainly the relationship between myself and my older sister. So a lot of that takes inspiration from a very real relationship that I have. So yeah.
Do you want to add anything? Either one of you want to add anything on to that?
I think that's, yeah, I think
they summed up.
Covered. Yeah, I think I'm happy with that.
Let's talk about the attic for a minute. We just talked about the kind of speech that goes back and forth. The attic to me is a very claustrophobic scene. It is very in your face, even more than say the dinner table and things like that. What gave inspiration for that? It feels, like I said, very claustrophobic, very in your face. You can't look away because there's nowhere to look away. It's so tight packed where you're filming. Was there inspiration behind that? Was there an idea that you were trying to push forth in that scene?
I mean, probably the inspiration was the filming itself. It was so horrible up there and so claustrophobic. Everyone was collapsing over each other. We had the whole crew up there. It was hot. We were up there for like 9 hours or something silly. And we had to kind of watch a step because the floorboards were a bit like they'd break and things. And I think a lot. Yeah, we just wanted tension, and I think we really real fans of kind of holding on stuff, and we did. But I think a lot of that decision making was kind of done in the edit, where we did shoot wider shots and stuff, but the feeling of it just came through on the tights and the closes, and was kind of a decision more in the edit of going, let's push it like this, because you're getting the emotion in that scene from both those actors was incredible. Like, it blew me away, and pretty much everyone we speak to talks about that scene. And both of them, as far as like emotional delivery, are just like powerhouses, and so to capture that, where you can see the glisten in the eyes, and to see every kind of pore of sadness and dread and anger and frustration, I think it works all the better being nice and tight like that.
Poor old Lee had about 7 takes of that whole scene, didn't he? He was exhausted by the end of it, bless him. Yeah, those were real tears.
I think they managed to not dismissing their acting, because they can smash it. But I think what really helped with it was just that was one of the last scenes we shot, and this was 2 weeks of really long hour night shoots, and I think everyone was emotionally, physically, everything, mentally drained, and I think that comes across of just
absolutely
pours out, and I think that did help kind of get those kind of actions. I'm not dismissing their acting at all, because they're ridiculously good, but I think putting them in that scenario where it's very sleep deprived and things like that, and but everyone loved it. Like
everyone felt what they felt. I mean, I did, like, just watching it back when they were doing it, and it didn't get boring, because we'd do a few takes each, and or they'd do a few takes each of it, and everyone was just as powerful as the next. And I'd just be like this. It was like that a lot of the time with 90% of the film. The other 10% was just textural shots, but everything actor-wise, it was just like transfixed on how these guys just, I don't know, like how they were able to channel such emotion into each and every individual performance was just phenomenal, especially in the attic. Yeah.
So, Neal, let's talk about your sweater.
Everyone loves my sweater.
Well, you didn't.
That's what I mean. Everyone does, but I didn't.
Yeah. Who in the hell came up with this sweater?
I think I can actually claim that.
Are you claiming the sweater? Yeah.
I think I can, because I did the costume. I was the one put on searching for them. I think I can claim that one.
Yeah.
I think the sweater, from a character point of view, is he really likes the sweater, but he's just disappointed that it wasn't as thought out as his present. Do you know what I mean?
And that's what I was just about to say. You put all this effort into your gift, and you open a fucking sweater. And then after you open a sweater, you're asked to risk your life and go outside and see what's going on in the complete darkness. Yeah. Take that fucking sweater and get it stabbed up out there.
Well, it's red anyway, so you wouldn't really see it anyway.
There you go.
Nice one. But when I read that, and when I think the guys, because I was sort of sat in the room when the boys were sort of talking through a lot of the sort of ideas and the plot line and how the story moved forward and stuff before Adam went away and wrote it. And I remember when I read that about the sweater, and again, it's definitely close to my own heart, because I remember spending so much time and effort on an ex-girlfriend's present about 6 years ago. I spent all the effort in the world, got tickets to a show, made something, I can't remember what I made now, but just put a hell of a lot of effort in. And like, yeah, I sat there on Christmas Day. I was working. I told my girlfriend I couldn't make Christmas at her mum's, but I was working Christmas Eve till like 12 o'clock at night. And then I ended up driving straight from a 13-hour shift all the way up, halfway up the UK to be there on Christmas Day for her. And then she was like, oh my God, and tears and like some form of jewelry I brought her as well. And she was like loving life, crying her eyes out. And then I opened my gift, which was a cheap £2 frying pan, and I don't even cook at that point. So I was like, thanks very much. All that effort, you cleared it up for me. Bye. So reading that was that was easy to play for me, if I'm honest.
Yeah, no kidding.
Had that heartbreak many a time in my life. So,
but I think it's all jest. They like to banter, those two, and I don't think she did it out of spite or not thought. I think she thought very much about it. That it was.
Oh God, yeah.
Kind of wind him up in a way, but he loves it in the same way. Do you know what I mean?
It accentuates the love that they have for each other.
Yeah.
It's not from lack of thought. It is from thought that she'd done that because she likes to wind him up and make him feel. Because it is an awful jumper, and I think they all know that. But it was like, you're wearing this tonight, I'm going to embarrass you. Do you know what I mean?
I think Lucy would have had, like, for my birthday, maybe have done something similar, but it's just that it was my turn, and I decided to do that nice thing that she was like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, all right, well, Christmas jumper, thanks, great. I reckon she had a better present somewhere in a drawer somewhere for later, but you know.
I still love that line when you're like, do you want me to wear it tonight? She's like, yes. Just like there's no choice. Yes, you're wearing it tonight.
You know, you could have easily gotten out of that by saying you have to wash stuff before you wear it. It's got all kinds of stuff.
It was a struggle to get it on, so I could have just said it's the wrong size.
Lucy probably would have said, fine, I'm going to wash it now, and then I'm going to put it on the dryer very quickly, and you're still going to wear it.
Right. So let's talk about some of the set locations. I've heard some very interesting things about the set locations. Yeah. And I don't know if you know, but the way you're setting it looks like those horns are coming out of your head. And I have a feeling from talking to you that was probably purposeful and absolutely meant. Let's talk about a couple of the locations. Some of the people that were involved in this movie use their actual houses for this movie and are still cleaning up blood from that location.
This guy right here.
Hello. So Neal's actually in the other room because we're in my house, and that's the actual dining room from the film. And if you look behind that curtain behind him, you'll probably still see some blood on the wall.
Oh.
Is there some there?
He's going to prove it.
Or has it been cleaned?
Is it there?
Is it there? We can't see it. Is it there?
Yeah. Can you not see it? It probably doesn't.
No.
Yeah, there was blood behind that curtain. It's still there. I think your wife might have cleaned it a bit, but
a whole year later.
So it's been a year. Does that say something bad about me or how bad the mess was? I don't know.
Maybe I shouldn't have brought that up. That's on me. It shows, though, to me, it shows the true kind of entrepreneurial nature that goes into these independent films. And I think that's why they hold and resonate with people so much, is because you're willing to put your house on the line, your savings on the line. You don't see that in big budget studio films because they're given a set amount. They're told to do this. And, you know, when you're working with such a small budget and on an independent film, and you have time is money on those, you have to shoot things. If you look at like a Hollywood blockbuster, some of those things take like 4 days to shoot one scene. You just don't have time for that on an independent film. So as the director's first, and then as the actor, how do you keep those shoot schedules going forward and keeping them on track?
With a good AD, and we had an awesome AD, Craig Hind. He, bless him, he had a hard job because Rich and I tend to not settle until we're happy. So Craig actually did, what most people would think was the impossible, and he scheduled an entire 90-minute feature-length film shoot in the space of 8 days, at least the first stint of it, and then we shot the last couple of scenes in January, just gone. I say just gone, it's October now, but yeah. Yeah, this year's a mess. I don't know where we are, but yeah, and it was just, I think it was a case of Craig's careful planning and is this realistic? Can we do this? And sometimes it was like, we're going to do it, whether it looks like it's possible or not. We're going to do it, and we made it happen. And it just worked, and we didn't compromise anything. We sometimes we did go over. We insisted, and we wouldn't let anyone tell us otherwise, because it needed to be done right, and it needed to be done the way that we envisioned it, I guess. And I guess that, as it combined with, 19 other people, it was a 20 person crew, cast and crew. That was it, 20 people. Each and every last one of them was just as hungry and passionate as us, and that made it work. It was pure magic, the whole thing.
Yeah, there wasn't, on a lot of sets, which I understand the reasons why, but on a lot of kind of bigger budget things, you stick to your station and you don't veer from that. But we were blessed to have a cast and crew that weren't, I guess, like that, and we didn't enforce those rules of, obviously you don't chip into things like sparking or the camera gear and stuff. You're not going to have the actors going, right, I'm just going to move this over here. But everyone was chipping in when they could. If we needed blood putting up walls or something, anyone who was available would jump on doing that. Or we had the composer at one point taking apart a skateboard to get some wheels to attach to the chair that Nadia was dragged down the corridor on. And so the composer was doing that. And it's just like, there was no kind of hierarchy as far as, no, you don't do that, you do this, stay in your station. It was everyone just muddled in, and we all did what needed doing, and we got through, and we all just, it was a big family, and we all treated each other 100% equally. There was no like
hierarchy.
Yeah, no hierarchy, I guess is the word on set. It was just, I think everyone obviously knew not to kind of do things that would be a pain, but everyone helped out where they could. We had the behind the scenes guys kind of decorating and building false walls and stuff, because we said like three of the rooms in the film were all shot in the dining room. So there's a couple of scenes where we're in a certain room that's not in the dining room, looking out of the doorway, and what would be behind that person in the doorway should be something else, but we're in the dining room now looking out of the doorway. So we had to make a false wall and replicate what was behind them and stuff like that, and put that up outside the dining room to kind of sell the illusion that it's a different thing. But because the house that I live in is so tight, so small, we're all tripping over each other. We made the call to make the dining room the main room that we shoot in, because it's the biggest room in the house, and it gave us we've been asked whether we've shot on a set because it looked like we've been able to remove walls because the rooms are very small, but we're actually shooting in a very long room and making it look like a small room. So it looks like the camera is technically further back than the wall should be, if you know what I mean.
A lot of forced perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah. Neal?
I think with this film, again, a lot of the cast and a few other people have said this in their sort of reviews and podcasts and things, is that the film's full of nobodies in terms of actors and people that have done things before, but the amount of talent that's involved in this film is better than some you'd see on sort of bigger budget movies. And coming back to what the guys are saying, it's all done for love. I mean, what the guys haven't said is that the film, every single person on set, every single day they were on set, each person was paid exactly the same rate. So there was no lead actors being paid more money. There was no, I was paid the same each day as one of the runners, as behind the scenes, as the DOP, as the directors. And when you've got that, there's no, I'm better than you. There's no, I'm higher in my career than you. There's none of that. We're all there to make a bloody good film, the best that we can, with the time that we've got, and we can either do it or we either can't. And when you've got that, when you've got limitations, then that's when creativity happens. The boys performed incredibly under pressure, and like Adam says, they didn't settle, because if you settle and you just pump out a load of rubbish, then it shows. The dedication and the time, the effort, the dedication and effort that is still happening now by Richard and Adam, putting out tweets and trying to get an audience for the film, is still ongoing, and that hasn't stopped. It was with the edit after the film, and just watching these guys do this with so much passion, it's the highlight of my career, at the start of my career, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
I could go onto a Tarantino film or any other kind of film that's bigger budget, bigger this, bigger that, but you won't get as big a heart that we got from these guys on set. And we woke up every morning with two hours sleep to come in and do another extremely long day, and you just do it. There's no moaning, there's no complaining. You get on with it. You get on and do your job. And that's the difference between a film being successful and not at this level, because all the money in the world couldn't give me that experience again. But I wouldn't mind it if anyone's out there that wants to give me a job, because you just can't buy this, and you can't be paid any amount of money to do what we did. I've done loads of stuff for the boys, for concept trailers and things like that. I've waded through stagnant water that was probably going to give me dysentery or something like that, but if it got the shot, it got the shot. In this film, I actually put the knife in my leg and had to go to A&E with Adam. We'll go above and beyond. So
that definitely is. So in saying what you just said about success, all three of you, and we'll just start down the line, what makes this movie a success? What happens to this movie that you go, we did it? That's, and it doesn't have to be it makes $100 million, it takes over the world. What in each of your mind makes this movie a success?
For me, the fact that we started from nothing, we wrote a story and came all the way to the finish line, doing what we wanted to do with people that we love and respect and admire as actors or producers or costume designers or makeup artists, whatever they are. The fact that we started from nothing and came to the finish line with something pretty awesome, like it's whether it for me and Rich, I know it's not about money, and it's the same for Neal. Like none of it, we don't care about money. Like
right.
For me personally, success, I feel successful already. I've made a feature film with my best friends and we've done it, and that's I'm so proud of all of us, and that to me is going to feel more successful than any amount of money could ever offer, if that makes sense.
Well, and not to cut Rich off, but he said the exact same thing with No One Around last night, that he made this movie with his best friends, and that that speaks volume. So Rich, what makes it successful to you?
Well, the bar keeps changing. Initially, what would make this film a success was to complete it.
Okay.
And we did that. And then what would make the film a success would be to potentially get it distributed in the UK. And we kind of did that. And then we were like, well, it'd be great if we could work out some kind of physical release for it. I'd love to see it in the shops. That's the goal of every kid who's into filming, is to see their film in.
Absolutely.
And it was like, oh, we've ticked off that box. Like, so the bar keeps like, then we're like, oh, it'd be good to get a good distributor in America and actually pay back the people that have trusted us with their money and cover the budget. And then we did that, and it was like, we've already paid back the film 3 times over. Do you know what I mean? And it's only just come out. Like, it's, so I don't know what the level of success is. I think I'll keep pushing that bar.
Okay.
So I think it's not a level of measurement. What I would want from, at its ultimate goal from this, is for people to see what we're about, and for us to open up doors to be able to do this every day, and to be able to spend my life doing a job with my friends that I love doing. And that would be success for me. It's not about earning £1 million or being number one or this or anything like that. It's people seeing it and enjoying it. We love hearing feedback that people got touched or felt something from the film and got what we were saying. I think that's interesting as well, especially when we've kind of put very deep layers in, and when people are like, love that meant this, and we're like, well, that's awesome. Like that you kind of got that, and we like making a little bit of a puzzle with it. But I think, success would be just people enjoying what we've done, and us being able to continue enjoying what we've done, and be able to pay the bills, I guess. But we're not looking for gold-plated Lamborghinis or anything like that.
No.
They would be nice, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, who wouldn't want one?
Right. Right. At least a cleaning lady to get that blood off the wall. So, Neal, success to you.
I mean, the boys just said pretty much what I was trying to think in my head to say. Adam said it first, so I changed my answer, and then Rich said exactly the same as what I changed my answer to. So
that's the problem with that.
I'm in the deep end here, but like Rich said, touching on this, the bar changed, but the key to, I think, the success of this film, wherever it goes, whatever it does, is that when the bar was here, the bar was never good enough. What if there's something up here? What is there something above the bar? What if we push enough to put this film in front of these distributors, these sales agents? How do we do that? Oh, you can't do that because you're not solicited. So the boys just sent stuff out. It's about not accepting and not sitting on the fence and just going, we'll accept that. That's fine. We'll just put that out. Is that the best we can get? Okay, cool, fine, do that. We've gone, no. That's where we want to go. Oh, we've got that. Can we go a bit further? Can we? And they did. And it always keeps surprising us. The reviews we keep getting through, like we've had a review that were the top 10 best horror films of 2020 from Harper Bazaar. And that's just like, wow. Everything just keeps getting bigger and better, and it's like we're on the Big Dipper at the fairground. We're just like constantly up and down. With you get a little bad review from some troll, and then it really brings us down because we know what we did this film for, how much it cost, what we did, who got paid what, how it's paid, and the success to me is that it's superseded any of our expectations because we didn't stop. We drew. I grabbed things from different areas. Have I got anything to help the guys? Yes, slide it in, send it to them, let them use that, build up, and do exactly what we can. And it's a massive team effort from cast, crew, say runners, the score, the producers, the distributors. We're all in it together. We never expected it, put it that way, for this to take off. The guys were doing this as a film to make their mark and show that they can make a film, make some money, and then go on to make another script that they've got. And for what I think this is what they feel, I hope as well, is that we've superseded any expectation we had of this film, and it was a success the day it was completed. But personally, for me, the success of this film was achieved when I've listened to people talk about my performance that I don't know that are sat in America or in Canada, and just the kind words. And when you sit there as an actor that you've been trying to do it for 15 years to no avail, you're sort of the several times you've tried to give up that you ended up not giving up. It leads to these moments, and a film like this kept me sort of going. A lot of actors, I'm sure a couple of guys in the cast have felt the same, is that you rarely find a film like this where it's such a family unit of support and praise, and we get it constantly, all the cast and crew, and the boys get it from us simultaneously. So just having my goal as an actor just ticked off of people seeing the film I don't know and saying that they like what I can do and the film that I'm in.
Well, it looks like you have about 5 things in production right now, don't you?
Oh, perception is everything, yes.
I don't know if it's perception. If it's in writing and on the internet, it has to be true. So,
yeah, there's a couple of things, but I'm trying to, yeah, there's a couple of things, but things never usually happen. So it's I don't get my hopes up till the dotted line signed, and there's
believe me, on this show you get guests and then they call you an hour before and they're like, yeah, I can't make it. So let's break away from the film for a minute and just talk about you guys. And I want to start with the directors, then go to the actor, because your question is going to be a little phrase different. So for the directors, if you could remake any movie, what would it be?
You want to go first?
No, you go first. I'm still thinking.
Neal, for you, while you're thinking, Neal, for you, it's going to be, if you could play any role of a remake, what would it be?
Right. Me and Rich have discussed this before, and I'm so sorry if you were going to say
you're going to rob it.
I don't know. I'm not sure, but
I don't think well, because I've kind of changed recently. But yeah.
Cool. Okay. It's actually happening, but me and Rich discussed this and agreed on this before we even knew that they were doing a remake, and that film is The Witches. because with the kind of stuff that me and Rich want to do moving forwards and what we've done with hosts, we would absolutely have loved the opportunity to remake The Witches, but make it insanely dark and just ominous and just horrible. So I think that, for me anyway, I'm still there. I would have loved the opportunity to do that. I'll have to think of another one now though, because they've done it.
Okay.
We've been a bit good with that because there's a lot of Roald Dahl stuff that I would love to have done. And initially I was like, a film I would love to do, if I get big enough director and get an opportunity to do a remake of anything I wanted, it was going to be the BFG. And then as soon as those words came out, I'm like, this happens a lot to me, and it really winds me up. I'm like, someone has microphones here, but it was the BFG. And then as soon as I said that, within a week, they announced they're making the BFG, and they made this cheesy, happy, goofy piece of crap that has zero fear of the original. The original was very dark, very scary. It was a horror movie for kids. And I was gutted. I was absolutely gutted. Then I was like, then we'll do The Witches, because that's awesome. And then, lo and behold, they bring out a trailer for a goofy, bright, happy, colourful version of The Witches that looks like crap. And I'm just like, this isn't what Roald Dahl was about. He was super dark, and he was about scaring kids. Do you know what I mean? And that's what kids love. My kids absolutely adore horror, and they listen to Roald Dahl and all that, and they just love being scared. Kids love that. But one thing there's been a massive lack of across the board is children's horror films. Do you know what I mean? And apart from maybe R.L. Stein's doing some, which is good, the Goosebumps kind of series kind of touches on that. But other than that, there's a real
Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark is another good one.
That one's quite adult. Like, my kids watched quite a lot of dark stuff, but that one's got some stuff in. I'm like, don't know if you're ready for that yet. Like, I'll say that's probably around a 15. It's got some sexual stuff in it as well, I think. And I'm like, that's kind of not. But do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like the films that we watched as kids used to have a lot of fear in them. They don't now. And I think that's a real shame, because, like, my kids are watching a lot of scary films. So I'm going to have to change it now to one I watched with my kids the other day, and I absolutely adore it. But I'll probably do a sequel to it, because there never was one, is The Blob.
You know they're going to do that.
That's in production right now. You didn't know that?
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you joking?
No, I'm joking. Yeah. I don't know what's going on in Hollywood. Come on.
It's a remake anyway.
Listen, I have a small podcast. I don't know what's going on. So
the ending of that ends on a cliffhanger, and they never resolved it. So I thought that'd be a really cool thing to pick up. Like,
now, are you talking about the Steve McQueen Blob, or are you talking about the 1980s Blob?
1980s. Okay. Blob, yeah.
All right. I know what you're saying about your kids. I have all daughters. I have 3 daughters. My 15-year-old daughter is absolutely fascinated with horror films. And she's seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre. She's seen all the Saws, and she, we'll get done with one and she's like, it was like, I showed her the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre and she's like, okay, whatever. She was like, it was okay. But she enjoys found footage, a lot of found footage stuff. Makes it feel more real, especially when I lie and say that they are real. So her very first movie that she watched was Paranormal Activity. That was the very first scary movie she watched. And I told her it was real. And then the one that really scared her was the Blair Witch. And I told her that was real too. So,
Has she not learned?
What's that?
Has she not learned by the 12th time that you're telling her it's real?
Well, listen, I'm very convincing. I just convinced you they were making a second Blob. So, so.
You got it.
Yeah, but that's the first time. Fool me once, shame on me.
Okay, Neal. Any role you could remake, who would it be? Or you could even say any movie that you would want to be in remake.
Right. I jumped around in my head for about 3 times with 3 different movies. And it's a difficult question. I don't like remakes to a point. There was one. I'm going to go with this film. It was going to be Drive, but I've changed my mind. It's to play Kurt Russell's role in The Thing.
I was hoping you would say that. I really was thinking The Thing. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, when I grow a beard out about your length, it's like a good Kurt Russell-y beard or something like that. But that's one of my favorite films alongside The Fog.
Absolutely.
Going back to proper horror films that literally made me cack my pants as a kid when I watched them. The Fog, because of just the prosthetics and just the eeriness and the creepiness when you're a child. But The Thing, because of the genuine, you don't know who's the thing. You have got no idea when you watch that first time blind going in, and the suspense that film created was ridiculous. I didn't mind the remake with the female lead. I enjoyed it, but it just wasn't. It doesn't have the same effect. It's all CGI now, and I can't stand CGI. CGI
practical effects are way better than CGI.
Practical effects. I still watch that film and go. I was talking to Richard about this last night and go, how the hell did they do some of those scenes? And I've watched little bits of documentaries with certain scenes, but some of that practical effect were just ridiculous. And so I'd love to do that with genuine practical effects. So give some people with like that skill and talent set to be able to full on non-CGI film. Like Kate in our film, Kate Griffiths, who did the special effects in Hosts, she does, it's all practical effects, then doesn't like to work with CGI stuff because it's some films that are full of CGI just looks completely unreal to me, and I don't get scared because I know it's not real. Whereas things like Evil Dead, as a kid watching that, you're genuinely terrified because something coming out of the basement, it looks real. And The Thing did that because it was just so scary. So yeah, I'd like to do Kurt Russell's role in that.
Very, very good choice. Okay. If you guys could meet any director from any time period, who would it be and what would you ask them? Neal, to you, if you could meet any actor, what would you ask them?
Who's going first?
I'll go because I've got it already. Mine's quite. Or do you want to do the directors first?
No, Neal, you take charge. Let's go.
Mine would be Tom Hardy's, and it would be, can I have your agent's phone number, please?
Okay.
This is simple as that. There's not much I'd ask other actors.
We were talking, Rich and I talked yesterday about the new James Bond, and they had said Tom Hardy, but they had also said Idris Elba, Henry Cavill. My vote is for, I love Tom Hardy, but my vote is for Idris Elba for the next James Bond. I guess you're on the Tom Hardy train for that.
Oh, I'm Tom Hardy full on. I think he can do that role quite well. I think he's done certain stuff in the past that nudges him towards it.
I'm sure you're a big Bronson fan.
I'm not a fan of his work, but yeah,
I'm sure you're a big Bronson fan.
A huge Bronson fan, a huge Warrior
Grease
fan.
me up, boy, grease me up.
Yeah, like I said, I love Tom Hardy, and I think his best thing was Inception. I loved him in Inception.
He's great in that. Yeah.
It was
Star Trek. Then I was like,
I could see him in
and he was super skinny in Star Trek Resurrection. He didn't look like him. Yeah.
He wasn't.
The name's Bond, yeah, James Bond. What are you gonna do with that, eh, mate? Yeah, he'd be great. Shaken, not stirred, yeah.
All right, so Rich, director.
Oh, can I say Adam?
Oh.
Wow.
I'm gonna say Rich.
What would you ask each other?
It would probably be David Fincher, and I'd ask if I could be his DOP. For anything, because I love David Fincher, but I'll probably hate him by the end of it because he's a bit of a hard nut.
I would probably have to say William Friedkin.
Okay.
Because The Exorcist is my favorite film, of all time. That's kind of what really turned me on to horror. Like, it was the film that, it wasn't the first horror film I watched, but it was the film, and the reason why I still love it so much is because, I know it's a different time. It was the 70s, man, but it's just all practical effects and it all looks incredible still. And the stuff that he did, like on set, firing shotguns to scare people, and all these, there's just crazy shit he did to get real reactions out of people it's what I'm all about. And I think that's what we're all about. And it's as well as making things very, very real. Like, if we had the budget, then I can guarantee you that both Rich and I would agree, no, we're not going to just pay to have someone CGI some smoke or vapor from someone's mouth because they're out in the woods in the middle of the night. Or no, actually, because the room's gone cold because, for example, there's a ghost in there, right? We're not going to CGI some fog into their mouth. We're going to refrigerate.
I think there's a ghost in his room right now. So
we're going to refrigerate the set instead. I'd want to do everything real, you know, and that because it gives that authenticity. And I think we're all on the same page. It's just like as if you need to use CGI and, you know, visual effects like that, do it minimalistically if it's needed to bring something out a little bit more. But if you can get that stuff done on set, like in camera when you're filming it, which is essentially what we did the majority of the time, apart from the eyes, of course, which Rich, being the master that he is in the editing suite, did digitally do them, but everything else was done practically, and we insisted on that.
I think visual effects is a tool that shouldn't be relied on. It should be used to enhance the practical. I think there's about 200 visual effects shots in Hosts, and you wouldn't see it. A lot of it was actually just removing stuff that we'd accidentally caught in the camera. So like there's a light sellotape to the wall or something like that. I'm like, oh, got to get rid of that then. Removing logos from stuff and trying to do all that things. Removing skin blemishes and stuff. But there is a little bit of visual effects in the scene as well, just to emphasize. And I think that's where visual effects is really powerful and where people don't notice and go, oh, I thought that was all kind of practical, but it was used to emphasize certain things, just to make it more visceral, but like, or to fix things that don't look slightly right or things like that. But overall, I think practical is where you want to kind of build your starting point, or to get it to 95%, and then just tweak it to make it add that final bit of realism if it's lacking. I think that's where I'm kind of from. Like,
I agree.
So last question, and then we'll get into going around and talking about everything that you guys are doing now. But last question, have you guys sit back and actually think this is a real thing now? Like this could be everything that you're talking about, these movies that you would remake or these things that you want to do. This is a real possibility now. I mean, you said you've been struggling for 15 years, thought about leaving the business, going back and forth. With this movie and the places that you're going with it and the things that you're getting from it, these are real possibilities. Have you guys sat down and thought like, oh shit, it's kind of real now? I mean, of course it was real making the movie, but where you think like, oh shit, this could actually lead to something.
To see it all happening is mental. Like I know that we've spoken a few times and been like, what the hell's going on? Like, what have we done? Like it is happening. Like the whole thing is happening. So yeah, it's nuts. And we've got that mindset of we will just, if it doesn't happen, you know, in this one, if we don't get what we want, we'll keep, like Neal said, pushing the bar even higher until we get to where we want to be. And where we want to be is what Rich said, is making films with our best friends and being able to do this all the time. And that's the goal. Is just always reaching for the stars. Don't reach for
the ceiling.
Don't reach for what's, you know, in front of you because it's easy. Reach for the impossible. And the moment you start doing that, it starts to become possible. But to see it all just coming to fruition, is that the right word?
Yeah.
Like everything that's happening it's overwhelming. Like, and it's I haven't got used to it yet, and it's, you know, it's been happening for nearly I know it's still early days, it's happening for a week now, and it's still just crazy. Just the fact that it's where it started.
People
and where
seem
it
to
is.
like it,
Yeah, it's nuts.
I kind of can't let myself get too carried away because I don't want to get disappointed of what it could lead to, what it could lead on to. Obviously, there's ideas, you know, when the director of the new Saw film goes, "You've done an incredible movie," like, you know, you can't help but get thoughts of going, "Oh my gosh." But my head is so down in just getting people to hear it, getting people to see it, trying to, you know, get on Twitter and share and getting people excited about it and emailing reviewers and things like that. That's where my head is, and I'm kind of working week by week, and that's kind of how I work. Is what's the goal of this week? Let's achieve that. What's the goal of next week? Let's achieve that. And so I don't really have time most of the time to kind of think what's the goal of 5 years from now, or this, or I've been let down so many times with dreams, but not that I'm not aiming for them. I don't want to kind of start getting overconfident with stuff or anything like that, but I do think we've got a good film. The critics seem to agree, and that's cool, and that's like surprising to us. We didn't go in going we're going to smash it or anything like that, but I think what we've come out with has surprised us. Like when we first started the edit and first started getting the rushes in, I can remember nearly crying, going, "This is a load of shit." Do you know what I mean? And going, "Oh, I don't know what's going on here." Like, but as it built and as we refined and refined and refined and refined it, I started to get excited. And when the visual effects started going in and it all started coming together, it was like, and then the score coming in, it was like, I think I really like this. Do you know what I mean? I'm really getting proud of it, and that's cool. And it's just been a roller coaster. There's been massive troughs of verging on depression and massive highs verging on, oh my gosh, like we're doing it. And then the next day it's back down a gutter with a bad review, and then back up with a good review. It's crazy. Late nights because I'm on American time, trying to speak to people. And yeah, it's kind of mental. And then obviously lockdown and everything, it's mentally exhausting. And it's been a bit of a year. But I wouldn't change it for the world. We've had a good run with it and want to keep pushing, and to mom, innit?
To mom.
To mom.
Neal?
Yeah, every day. But I suppose the difference, I've done several other films. The previous film I did that was on Netflix worldwide, I thought that was the moment of, oh, I'm doing this with certain people. This is going to elevate me up, or at least get me to the next step or the next rung on the step ladder, and the next and the next. You get exactly what Rich is saying. You get this sort of sense that, oh, this is great. I'm working with such amazing people. And then, doesn't go anywhere. Doesn't do anything for you. And no matter how much work you put in to try and do something about it, and things just bounce back and the emails just don't get replied to, or nobody acknowledges your existence. I've had it before where you've felt so good and then it's not happened. And I suppose this time the only difference is that I believe in this project more than I've believed in anything previous. Because of, like the boys and like I say, is I've worked with my best friends, and you don't get to do that. And I suppose walking onto another set now, you sort of go, it's not as good as hosts. It's not as good as that, and I'm a victim to it because it was that good. So I can't see anything being any better. The process is, I'm all about the process. I'm not about the post and the what happens after an actor leaves a set. I'm all about the during and the doing. And then I always hang around afterwards. Like Richard and Adam are probably sick of me being around, but I'm always trying to help
not at all.
And do bits like just to help and try and do this, or I've got this, I know this person, because I care about what I've just done. Some actors just do a film and leave, and they're on to the next one. But the thing with this one is that a lot of the cast and crew are around and able to be so supportive, because they're not jumping straight onto the next film, because there is no films at the minute. But yeah, I always think this could be the moment. I always get down about whether things happen the way they should have done, or should they have happened by now. If they haven't, why are you still doing it? All that kind of stuff I touched on earlier. But yeah, this could be it for us. I've never had a film distributed to this level in America and Canada, and then we've got the UK and a couple of other countries, and we're in sieges. We're all flying out there on Friday, and then we've got Fright Fest. The only thing I regret on it is that well, not regret, it's out of our control, but we had a lot more festivals to do, because that's maybe affecting us. I don't know, maybe affecting sales, VOD downloads. You never know what's going on, but we haven't had that exposure we would have had if there wasn't a pandemic. But then on the other side of the scales, if we didn't have a pandemic, we probably wouldn't have got this film in front of the people we did to take us on as an independent. Do you know what I mean? Down to the hard work of the guys, and you can't cold call these the big distribution companies and sales agents. No, we can, and they did. the boys did. So yeah, hopefully it is, and I'm quietly confident that it is. But again, it's that wait for it in black and white until we pop the champagne and buy the Lamborghini. So
there you go, gold plated.
Gold plated.
All right, let's go around the horn. What are you up to? What should people look out other than this movie? I'll get to that in a minute, but what should they look out for you? Anything upcoming, anything you want to promote? Go ahead. We'll start with you, Adam.
On Friday, the 9th of October, I don't know whether this is going out before or after, but on Friday, the 9th of October, we are releasing, so my band, In Search of Sun, we're releasing the title track to host, like the end credits song thing, the music video for it comes out on Friday. So go follow us on socials, Facebook, subscribe on YouTube so you don't miss the video.
That's In Search of Sun.
In Search of Sun, S-U-N, not the children type. In Search of Sun. So yeah, we write the end credit. The music video comes out on the 9th. And yeah, and if you want to buy some exclusive limited edition Hosts merchandise, head over to www.hostsmovie.bigcartel.com. And that's it. Apart from the fact we're writing some very cool films quietly.
You just stole them all.
Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. No, you go on.
No, you.
No, you.
I don't know. My head is
like a boyfriend and girlfriend trying to get off the phone. No, I love you more. No.
We've been told we're a married couple so many times on set. I think it's kind of got to that level, to be honest, without the the consummation side of things.
I'd buy that for $1.
Give it time.
Maybe on the next movie.
We'll see how big this one gets. Okay.
I mean, I'm working 24 hours a day trying to get people.
Yeah, we were on this last night at 2:00 in the morning. So
you sent me a message, was like, how's this time? I'm like doing the math of the time difference. I'm like 2 a.m. I'm in bed at, what is it now, 8 o'clock, because I'm absolutely exhausted. Yeah, cool, man. I'll get up. So that's what I'm like. Like, just whatever hour of the day, it doesn't matter. I'm on it. I'm speaking to people. We're getting emails now, and I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm going to be on them as soon as we quit. And, yeah, that's all I'm doing. And then we're off to Sieges. We're going to hopefully meet some people there and speak to them about the next projects, but we'll see how it goes.
Okay. You're up.
Yeah, I don't know. I've just finished filming on a feature film. I think it's a working title called April, where I'm playing. This sounds terrible. I'm playing an underground sort of man who traffics 15-year-old kids into sex. That's not good. That's not a good selling point, isn't it? But it's about
not at all. As a matter of fact, that's a horrible lead up.
Yeah, yeah, and it's hard. It is. Do you know what I mean? Because again, it's that I'm not.
Let's just say you're a bad guy, a really bad guy. I thought you were going to say I play April. So
I play April. Well, you can do in this day and age. I probably could. Yeah, it's a film by Darren James King. He does a lot of very gritty, realistic British sort of street films, if you want to call it that, where it's this drama. It's a very gritty drama. It's very powerful and hard hitting. I play a guy who's obviously he's trafficking. He's selling 15-year-olds. He's grooming them outside of schools. And he's selling them and he's making business, and he's selling drugs as well. But it sort of explores why a guy comes to do those sort of things through his own childhood and his bringing up. So I'm playing the lead of that, called Miles, who yeah, there's some extremely powerful stuff in there, and it's very natural, very gritty, very ultra realism, as you'd call it. And that's finished. It should be ready by December, according to the director. And I finished filming on Sunday, and that should be out somewhere next year, hopefully, seeing how it goes. But that's what I'm doing next. So big shout out to Darren. He's a legend. And yeah, I hope he can do something with that film, because we've been filming it for 2 years, and we just did some pickups last weekend, which was all very well restricted because of COVID. But yeah, that's next. And I'm also helping a friend produce a film called Sharkers, Patrick Chamberlain, and that's going to be a train spotting / Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas roller coaster ride of a film. So
that sounds very gritty too.
Yeah, with that, which I'm also in as well, obviously, because why would I produce a film I wasn't in?
Right.
But yeah.
Okay, guys, listen, everybody, you got to check out this film. It's been rated in the top horror movies of 2020. The new director of the Saw films said it's an amazing piece of work. These guys are great. They stayed up. They met me at 2:00 in the morning to talk about this. You can get this video on Amazon, what I read today, correct? They can stream it on Amazon now.
It's out in the US and Canada at the moment. And we're doing the Sieges in Spain. You can actually stream it from that if you're in Spain on I think it's this week.
It's this week.
This week coming. Then we're in Fright Fest in the UK on the 24th of October, and you can stream it on Fright Fest. And then I think we're getting a UK release come January time.
But we're on iTunes and all that. iTunes, Amazon Prime. So search us on iTunes. Is it Voodoo as well? Is it you got over there? Is that a thing?
Voodoo, Fandango,
Google
PlayStation.
Did it make it to Voodoo? I don't remember seeing it on Voodoo.
Is it Voodoo or Fandango?
Sure.
Is it?
Check. Let me just double check.
Someone said they searched it on one platform, but yeah.
The bottom of it is you can find it pretty much on every streaming site. These guys are going to be out moving around. If you really want to see something new, something fresh that's out there, like I said at the beginning, it'll change your mind about dinner with the family. It'll change your mind about maybe what the inner workings of your family are. This is one to definitely check out. It's hosts, and this has been Richard Oak, Adam Leader, and Neal Ward. Guys, thank you so much for coming by. You are always welcome. As always, I'll put the links to where you guys can stream it. Anything these guys are doing, they can send over to us and we'll put up. And then we'll actually put up, if you want some of the host merchandise, we'll put that link in the group too, so that you can go over and buy that host merchandise. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming by. If anything in the future you guys want to come back on, you're always welcome. So, guys, that's going to be it for this week. I'm DJ. That's Adam. That's Richard. That's Neal. This is the DTD podcast, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.